Hello traders, Gary Wagner here, just about 11 o'clock in Honolulu, 4 o'clock in New York on Friday. Happy Aloha Friday, as we say on the islands. It is the 7th day of November 2014, and this is the Daily Report for Gold and Silver, our weekend review. And what a way we've ended on the week. Tremendous upside surge in the precious metals markets pretty much across the board. First to gold, you can see 1175 and change. That's our current print. We have had a low today of 1132. A high today, which we're right about at it, 1175.70. Currently up about $33 and change. Of course, we did pull profits when our stop was hit this morning. We'll talk about that in a second. First, let's take a look at silver. Silver also trading substantially higher, up about 2% on the day, or 32 cents, 15.73. It has had a low of 15.79, a low of 15 even, which is where we thought it might go, a high of 15.79. Currently just off the highs at 15.74. More on silver in a little bit. Obviously, the first thing we need to cover is our current short trade, or I should say our former short trade, in which we did pull profits this morning. In essence, we went short roughly just above 1200, 1208. And that would be roughly right, let's say right in this area here, or right here. And roughly what we did is we began to trail our stops lower and lower as this market continued to go lower. Once the market broke hard, we did move our stop to 1171, call it right here. Of course, 1175, we are out. We're out with a nice profit. Obviously, we gave back $30 that we had yesterday. But as I said in my remarks in market forecast, there will be a bounce. There's no doubt about that. When there will be a bounce and how strong of a bounce that will be is anybody's guess. I termed it that way because I realized that at some point, some piece of news is going to come out that is going to have a massive amount of short coverings and probably buyers entering into the market. And that's exactly what we saw today. We still had a good trade. We still pulled, in terms of profits out of that trade, over $30. So I feel quite comfortable with that. Would have I liked to have gotten out yesterday? Well, that's the obvious answer is yes, but we're technical traders. We don't have a crystal ball. We try to catch as much of a trend as we can. We trail our stops down. If this market continued to go lower, we would be able to capture more. That is really the double-edged sword of trailing a stop down rather than putting a price order in and trying to catch a bottom. However, what happens is when you get these big trends, you try to catch 50, 60% of the move. On this particular trade, from 1208 all the way down and back up, we caught about 50% of the move since we were in there. I'm satisfied with the trade. We'll move on to our next trade. Most importantly, what are we looking for in terms of the market? Is this a key reversal or is this a bounce? Well, right now, I'm going to have to say so far it's a bounce. And if it's a bounce, where can we look for this market to go to? Now, what I have done is I have created a couple of different fib retracements, but we're now going to hone this retracement to where it really needs to rest. And so traders, I've done just that. What I've done is we have one fib retracement from the beginning, right before the sell-off. In other words, the market is trading down. It hits its low at around 1177, moves back up, and then finds real resistance roughly at 52. I believe that was pretty much the area we were calling for. We called for 52, and that was based on another Fibonacci number. From there, we had this dramatic fall, taking us to an intraday low, according to this chart, of around 1131. Now, based upon that, the following is really what I'm looking at in terms of where this market could go to. And I've just gone ahead and put back the 23 and 38. 23 really isn't that important, but 38 is, because as you can see, we've really, if we look at this drop here, this entire range of the market, you can see that the market, at least for right now, has stalled roughly at the 38% retracement of this move down. Now, that being said, if we're truly looking at a bounce typically is going to be anywhere between 50 and 75% of the move down. So that creates our, call it a sweet spot, or really our zone, our area in which we think this market could trade into. So my sense right now is that if we see a continuation of this market moving up, I would look for this market to move anywhere between, call it 1191 on the low side and 1223 on the high side, call it 1220. That would be based on 75%. This, of course, is 76%. But this is the area that we could look at the market to go to. So what kind of play is in this market? Well, we'll have to see. I don't believe that we've got a really good, unless we have a pivotal reversal, I don't believe going long at this point, except for a very, very short trade. For those of you that want to take it, you can look to get in at around 1175, but look to get out at around somewhere around 1200 based upon these numbers. In other words, based upon the fact that typically these kinds of bounces will take us anywhere between 50 and 75%. So that's really my key target in the market. For right now, we've had a series of really good trades behind us. Let's take a look Monday to see how this market reacts, what really happens over the weekend, and then go from there. So traders, before we move on to silver, I want to take a quick look at a couple of different charts in gold. First of all, the weekly. Look at how it's now gone green. Market sitting at 78 as we go into the close. Without a question of a doubt, this is a hammer, a very, very strong hammer following this tremendous down day. This would be really a variation, as we talked about, of a Three River Evening Star. But if you take a look at the daily, let me go ahead and bring that in. But if we take a look at the daily, we now have a variation off a Three River Morning Star. And the reason I say variation, well, actually, it's pretty darn close, because we are getting a true star. That star hasn't gapped below this green candle. This is not a continuous contract. We do have real gaps in the markets, are true opens and true closes, unlike our spot market chart. Look at this tremendous rise, but this, traders, is a Three River Morning Star, any way you want to look at it. We'll have to see if there's follow through. Of course, to take this particular call just as it is, meaning taking this call, you would have the following day would have to be a green candle. And that green candle would have to have a higher high and a higher low than the previous green candle. This would be your confirming candle right in here. But as I said, incredibly strong comeback on the market when you look at the weekly candles. As I said, we got in at 1208. We got out roughly at 1208. We got out roughly at 1171. We pulled profits. We're sidelined going into the weekend. What about silver? Well, silver's also showing a tremendous comeback. Very similar looking candles on the weekly and daily. If we look at this daily here, again, variation off of a Three River Morning Star. We'll take a serious look at both gold and silver come Monday. We're getting out of the week with a nice profit. I feel good about it. I hope that you do also. This has been Gary Wagner, wishing you, as always, good trading. We certainly got that this week. We'll talk to you on Monday for another daily update and review. And as a side note, I did talk about it. I will be flying to Indonesia on Wednesday evening, so we'll have our regular report Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. On Thursday, we will have just the commentary part. I probably won't be able to do a video, but following that, meaning Friday's report as well as the following week, I am bringing all of the equipment I need to be able to do the show on the road. So we'll be able to bring you limited videos, possibly every day. We might go every other day. It's the time difference that I really want to see how hard that is to adjust. But please realize that I will be monitoring the market as I do here, which is almost a 24-hour monitor, except when I'm sleeping, of course. And I will be sending out trade alerts and recommendations as needed. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.